You're muted, man. You're
Hello,
muted.
boys and girls. Welcome back to the Suit Up Geek Fix podcast. My name is Lo, representing the West Coast. We got Doug.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to our Bad Batch episode 13 review. We are off the rails, just like this episode, pun intended. But we are going to be breaking down a spoiler review, talking about our favorite moments, general impressions, looking ahead to the final 3 episodes. What's up, Lo?
Oh, forgive me, everybody. Forgive me watching. I just choked on my soda. Just went down the wrong pipe. It came right back up as the intro video was playing. Anyways, so if you're not familiar, we do Bad Batch reviews. We missed the last couple of episodes, but to be honest, we aren't missing much. And this week's episode was episode 13. It was titled Infested. Without further ado, spoiler warning. Let's dig right in. You said it best, Dibes. The Bad Batch show is getting a little bit off the rails. I'm not quite sure where this all pertains to the main story. It's been a lot of filler that I haven't been terribly fond of.
Yeah.
Today's episode was a lot better than 2 weeks ago. That one I don't even really want to talk about much, but it's just deviating from the general story, and there's not much to deliver. 2 weeks ago I had a little bit of action. Not much else. In between, though, we did have an episode that was really exciting, which featured a cameo from my favorite character from Rebels. What about you, Dibes? What are your first impressions of the last 3 weeks of Bad Batch, and how do you feel about it overall?
Outside of Hera, it's been pretty dull.
Yeah.
I have a lot of problems that we're going to be talking about tonight, and it really revolves around this episode because, the whole thing with the separatists and the clones, and it's all right freaking there. And why aren't we deep diving into that? Why aren't we getting into that instead of having this standalone episode here, which again, like Mando season 2, we have, instead of ice spiders, we have these flying man-eating flying bugs, which is fun and all. But we're getting to the nitty gritty here. We're getting to the final 3 episodes of the Bad Batch. We don't know that a season 2 is on the way. It's mostly been a lot of cameos. So outside of Hera, who I absolutely adore, if there was one thing to take out of these last 3 episodes, is I want an Omega and Hera show. Wouldn't that be amazing? They have been stealing every single scene. But like my problems with the show, it's literally Hunter, it's Crosshair, and it's Omega, and nobody else. What the heck is Echo doing on this team? There's a lot of issues with this series where there's the main characters and everybody else is forgotten, and that's not the clone task force that I love. That's not the Rebels team I love, where everybody gets their moment to shine. Wrecker hits his head a few times. It's kind of been I don't know where we're going.
So with that being said, there's not too many memorable moments in the past 3 weeks, minus the Hera cameo we've already mentioned. But there are some fun little things. Like, for example, today's episode was a tiny bit better. We had a scene where the group is with Sid. They're trying to get the spice. They're trying to get Sid's parlor back, which was taken from her by Roland, who was in a league with the Pikes, which I thought was that was a decent cameo. Cool. But I just really quickly, I want to shout out Wrecker dropping the flashlight into the cavern. It reminded me of the Mines of Moria.
Yes!
When Pippin drops the helmet and the skeleton, and then Gandalf's like, full of a toque. Wrecker kind of had a moment like that where Sid's like, didn't I say to be quiet? That was pretty funny. You hear the growling of the creatures in the background. So that was a kind of cool moment. What about you, Dives? What were some memorable moments in the past 3 weeks for you?
I'm geeking out, man. I'm straight up geeking out because that was I wish I could share my screen of my notes. That was literally my favorite scene of this episode. I was waiting for Sid to go full of a toque. Throw yourself in next time and rid us of your stupidity. Yes. I was just waiting for it. It didn't happen, but most of this episode revolved around people doing stupid things and knocking things down deep caverns and That the Mines of Moria thing was by far my favorite moment of this week. So I thought the Pikes were really cool. I think that is hands down probably a top tier Star Wars creature design. I thought they were intimidating. I thought they were creepy. I would love to deep dive into that down the road. So there are a lot of fun, no doubt about it. Like, what is it? Like Crimson Dawn. I would love to kind of like, hopefully, maybe, season 2, that's like kind of where the Pikes thing is going. So we've got, spice, we got a lot of cocaine. We've got people getting disfigured. We got a lot of things happening, but all in all, it was just a truly filler episode. With, we're 13 episodes in, the narrative has kind of been like wishy-washy. We're waiting for this shoe to drop and it's not happening. Like I said, you have the Separatists and the clones. You have all that going on. I love that dynamic. I love that storyline. Like, what happens with that? Like, I would love to know so much more. How about we go into like the mercenaries and go into Cad Bane, and like I feel like they're introducing things but dropping them for the sake of these filler episodes. The problem is we had these in Clone Wars. I loved them. We had these in Rebels. I loved them. But the problem is everything's just, expectations are so high in a 16 episode season that, I just need more. I just need more. My expectations for Dave Filoni are just super high. So it's not a terrible episode. I'm just left wanting more.
I agree 100%. And to kind of take that a step further, I think the issue is that, if I'm being frank, these last couple fillers have just not been as strong as we've seen in the past or even earlier in the season. Like, for example, the filler episode with the Rancor, the baby Rancor, that was fantastic. Like, yeah, fun. That was some nostalgic factor that actually made me smile, and I was like, hey, it's a Rancor. Like, so stuff like that was great. But like, for example, the minus the Pikes, there wasn't much worth in today's episode. That Mines of Moria moment, but it's like that comes and goes, and we're left wondering what's going on with the greater story. I agree. I think the fact that they're not touching on the demise of the clones, or even touching the forthcoming stormtroopers, yes, that really intrigues me. With yes, Admiral Rampart, where is he? I thought he was going to be a big bad.
Or Tarkin.
He hasn't even appeared maybe once in the past 7 or 8 episodes. So I have a lot of issues with where this show is going. But with that being said, let's go into some predictions. When I heard first mention of the Pikes, my mind went to Solo. And when I thought of Solo, I thought, hey, maybe we get Maul and things get interesting. But at this point, with 3 episodes left, I mean, I don't know if they'll save that for the end if we do get it. But what about you, man? Where do you think we're going at this point?
I don't know. I have no, I thought for sure that Sid, we were done with Sid. We were moving on. We're moving on, and sure enough, Sid has another episode here. I thought that was a pit stop, and it wasn't. He's back, and more than likely, Sid's probably going to join the team. So I have no idea where this is going. Clearly, there's a lot of there's Cad Bane out there. Clearly. Everyone's, targeting Omega. It's just a shame that it took, to the last 3 episodes for really anything to happen, other than some fun cameos. So, there were a few episodes that were just absolutely mind-blowing and so much fun. It's just for me taking a dip. So predictions wise, there's a lot of repetition in the show, and I'm a little concerned about that. I'm getting kind of sick and tired of Omega. It's kind of the same old story where you kind of have she's trying to inspire the clones that to help people is the right choice. We get it. I understand that it's happened 3 times now.
Yeah.
Her getting in trouble and the clones and the Bad Batch have to bail her out. It's happened 2 to 3 times now.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of everything's just circling. I'm hoping that these last 3 episodes are just bangers. Otherwise, it's definitely dropped the ball a little bit. So I want Cad Bane versus Hunter, or some sort of Hunter versus Crosshair standoff moment. That needs to happen. That would totally redeem these last couple of episodes at least.
Yeah, 100%. And also, I want to know what's going on with the Cameos. I mean, there's just so many questions right now. Like, there's so many questions that just left in the air, and we have these not worthless episodes, but just uneventful episodes.
Yeah.
Lots of issues here. We have our third out of fourth co-host joining us in just a moment. But before he joins, I'll give my grades really quick. 2 episodes ago was more like a 5. That was my least favorite episode of the series. The senator, I can't even remember his name. I can't remember what planet they were on. They had a coup or the mission was to rescue him or something like that. I honestly, I've been over this format since episode like 7, and we are like 6 more episodes in. I'll give that episode a 5. I think that was episode 11. Episode 12 was more of a 7.4. It was a delight to see Hera. That episode was actually really excellent. It was nice to see Ryloth again, and as well as her father. This week's episode, I'll give more of like a 5.5. It's definitely dragging its feet in terms of the storytelling, and I just want to get to the more important things that, as fans, we all deserve to see. Welcome, AJ. Thanks for joining us, man.
What's up? I just had a little bit of issues, and I couldn't find the link anywhere, so
it's all good, brother. It's always a pleasure to talk shop with you, especially when it comes to Star Wars. Really quick, man, because we haven't done a review in 3 weeks, but to be fair, we haven't missed a lot. So just general impressions of the last 3 weeks of Bad Batch, like good, bad, hate it, love it. Where are you right now?
All right. Let's see. I'm trying to remember the episodes now. I can't even remember the episodes. All right. I'm just gonna go with I'm gonna start off with last week's. Last week really didn't have anything to do with the Bad Batch. It only focused on Ahsoka. Not Ahsoka. Oh my God, Hera. They only focused on Hera. So it didn't really feel like a Bad Batch episode. It felt like a Clone Wars /
totally
Rebels type of episode, which I was completely fine with. I didn't think it was bad. I actually enjoyed it a lot for last week. But the one thing that bothered me this week is how everything was handled. Like, this week's episode it just didn't really make sense. There was a lot of like moments where it could have been easily avoided. You got Wrecker doing the same dumb mistakes over and over again. It's really getting annoying at this point. And then you have, I think you already touched on this a little bit, that Omega is like the cause and the catalyst of everything that's going around surrounding the Bad Batch, which is starting to get annoying too, because I'm guessing she's like the conscience of the group, which is fine, but it gets old, and it's really it started annoying me this episode for some reason. So
no, that's well said, man. They're beating a dead horse. Hell, Wrecker's comic relief. Hunter says something stern. Omega cares about people.
Why even put Echo on this freaking team? I'm tired of it.
Echo is non-existent. He has no role.
It makes me mad. Like why do we?
But yeah, so with that being said, let's kind of jump into grades. How would you grade the last 3 episodes, AJ? And I know you're not going to give it 10s because you've given everything else a 10 up until this point this year.
All right. Well, this episode is like a 6.5 out of 10.
There it is.
I actually might go lower. I might give this one an F, to be honest.
That's where I was at.
This episode was plain old. And this is all planned out as well. So they had time to plan this out and everything before releasing everything. And it just upsets me even more that they can't think of anything else and they just keep repeating the same themes and same actions, which is really annoying. Last week's episode was fine. It felt different from all the other episodes because it didn't really feel like a Bad Batch episode, which is fine to me. So I'll give that like a 8.5 since they strayed away from the important elements of the Bad Batch. But it still felt different and felt unique to its own specific episode. I can't remember the last one. I can't remember.
That's how bad that one was.
I can't remember.
They saved the senator from
Yep.
There was like a conflict between the Empire and the Senators.
I wasn't a fan of that one either. So.
Yeah, that was the worst one for me. Dibes, how about you, man? How would you grade? Like, let's forget that third one 3 weeks ago. The last two. How would you grade the last two?
I'll go this episode. Probably a 5 sounds pretty good. Definitely among my, I don't know, probably my least favorite of the season. This episode. It's just there's no stakes. There's no sense of emotion or intensity in this episode. It was all just kind of blah. I go back to Common Ground, which was when we visit Raxus and we're seeing the clones and the separatists and dealing with all of that drama. That I enjoyed that. And then they just completely dropped the ball on that. And I'm just really upset that they did that, because that's where Star Wars gets so interesting, like the Jedi versus the Sith, and that gray area right in between. That's the money maker right there for Star Wars for me. Where, so I would have loved to explore more of the separatists versus the clones, and they didn't touch it. I'm just not a fan of this direction where we're going right now. Like I said earlier, like it's truly the Omega, Crosshair, and Hunter show. Everybody else is truly taking a back page everywhere. It's like, give them cameos and then they're like not involved. And I love cameos as much as the next guy, but it feels a lot like filler, which was this episode here. So if I had to go back last episode, which was Rescue Unrivaled, I would give that like a 7. And I think I'm being pretty generous. I agree though, AJ, that like, I enjoyed the element where it's not about the Bad Batch. They've made that clear, and I respect that they can do that and still kind of push the narrative, but it didn't really work on that episode. Like what was that episode when you had Crosshair with Hera's family in sights? Like I was like, could they get shot at any moment? You didn't get any of that kind of like emotion in these last 2 episodes, so. Yeah, I would give that probably a 7. Maybe I'll drop it to a 6.
To piggyback on your thoughts just a little bit before we kind of close out of here, they've been relegated to Guns for Hire. Yeah. And I feel like there is so much more they could do with the Bad Batch than just being Guns for Hire for almost 8 episodes now.
That's another thing that doesn't make sense too, because Omega paid off their debt and they're still working.
Can we talk about how? Sorry, AJ, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
Like, did anybody else have a problem that like Omega looked at Sin and was like, she helped us, we have to help her? Like, she prostituted the Bad Batch out of their desperation. Like, I was getting as so high.
Also, they helped her more than she helped them.
She profited off the Bad Batch. Like, this kid needs to grow up. And I understand that this is all part of like her character arc and character development. But like Omega was here these last few episodes. She's now down here.
I just feel like this is, I agree with you that this is more of Omega's character arc, which I do believe that she will have a more prominent role in the future outside the Bad Batch. So I do believe that Omega will have a role like, maybe in the Book of Boba Fett, maybe in future animated series. So that's something to look out for, since they're really highlighting Omega throughout all these episodes. So,
and we've been talking about that on these reviews. Like, I'm all for that. Like, Omega's adorable. She's amazing. I'm excited for that. But there's so much to explore in Star Wars. Like that on what happens on Kamino, what happens to the clones. Like, there's just so much, and
my issue is sorry, go on.
Bad Omega. It's not called the Bad Omega. It's called the Bad Batch.
Yeah. my issue really isn't the filler. I really love the filler. I really love to diverge from just the main plot. because I like the adventure. I like how Star Wars grows as a universe, even outside of the just like the main plot. That's why I love Clone Wars. That's why I love Rebels, because it's diverging outside the movie plot and all of that, and it's exploring more of the Star Wars world. So that's not the issue I'm having with filler. My issue is that sometimes, like you said, the stakes aren't there. They really need to get a better handle on how to create atmosphere within some of these filler episodes to make it feel like they're going through something just as important as the main plot, for me at least.
At least when you had the ice spiders in Mando season 2, like you had that feeling that like, oh shit, like Din and Grogu are on the run. Like what could happen next? Like I don't have that feeling with Hunter and Omega. I just don't, or Wrecker and Omega. I do not.
So real quick before we get out of here, I think we pretty much touched on everything. AJ, what are your predictions for the next 3 episodes? Like, where could we possibly go? Who could we possibly see? Do you know where we're heading?
At this point, I don't know, since we were back in the main plot, and then they just took us out again. Like the way, the way they just like, I was like, that one episode when they focused on Hera, I was like, wait, what's going on? And then once the Bad Batch arrived, like in the middle of the episode, I was like, oh, this is the Bad Batch. I completely forgot that we're still watching the Bad Batch. But like I said, which was fine. I just thought that at this point, anything can happen. We can get freaking Mace Windu back in the next episode and can just focus on him for all I care. I don't know. Watch it happen. I'm like, I told you guys.
It'd be fun to look back at like my episode 2, 3, 4 review, and where I'm like, oh my gosh, it's all gonna go down on Camino. We're gonna get this like giant war. Talk about the clones. Like nothing's happened.
You know, I think I could speak for all of us. Like being such fans of Star Wars animation, this is really disappointing. Like we are like screeching to like a halt, limping to the finish line. I can't believe it. Like you said, Dobbs, we were on such a high after that episode 1, after seeing Caleb Dune, and so here we are.
Yeah.
AJ, you got anything going on, man? Over at Geek Vibes, anything coming up? Any podcasts coming up? And where can people find you?
Geek Vibe, we always have a podcast like 9:00 Fridays, Saturdays. We just talk about everything, basically everything news-wise for nerds. You can find me on Twitter. AJ_Geeks Vibes, like always. I'm always here, ready to discuss, ready to argue. Whatever you need me to do, I'll do it. And we have a versus tonight in like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Iron Man versus Toy Story. I watched both movies today again, which I still love them, but we'll get into that in 30 minutes. And I am ready for the tournament tomorrow.
Oh,
the female tournament. I am so excited for this. So there's a
are you
lot
going
of
to do your usual style where you're picking up like not usual mainstream characters? Are you going to go like off the grid a little bit?
I actually might do popular ones and not popular. Depends on how people how everybody votes. So we'll see if people during the tournament picks just the popular ones, and then I'll be like, fuck it, I'm just gonna pick the unpopular ones. So.
Awesome. And Dives, you're hosting tomorrow. Anything else going on with you on your side, man?
No, man. I just dropped a Master Chef review, so if you're a foodie like myself, I was excited to get back into it. It's the best.
Chilling with the crock pots.
Yes, it is chilling with the crock pots. We have a blast with it. There was a major shock last night on who went home. So that was a lot of fun. My boy Tay went down, and that really sucked. And it should have been Joseph. But anyway, tomorrow night is our female movie character draft. 10 teams will pick 5 of their favorite movie characters, female movie characters of all time, and it'll be thrown to YouTube. And you vote or Twitter at Suit Up Geeks, the Suit Up Geeks, on Twitter, and you will vote for your favorite team. So it's going to be a ton of fun. And Loretto is either he farted or there's a bug around his head. I'm not sure.
It was more of a feather, but I'm having issues today. I got to close this garage, man. Too much nature going on today. But I have the number 2 pick in tomorrow's draft. So everybody watching, please tune in tomorrow. It's going to be
I
a
don't
heck
know
of a
what my
lot of
number
fun.
is. I don't know what part. I don't know what.
That's a good idea. All right. In between our verses, I'll tweet out or retweet the order, so it's fresh.
It's going to be a blast, guys. So if you like all the Bad Batch reviews, all this awesome content we got going on, please like and subscribe down below. We are the Suit Up Geeks. For Dibes, for AJ, and myself, we'll catch you guys in about 30 minutes. Thanks for watching.